Morning class 10s. Welcome back again to the second online class. In the previous class, I'd already started this chapter on agriculture, and I've discussed with you all the importance of agriculture to a country like India. In spite discussing the importance why agriculture is important in India and all that, along with this, I've also discussed with you all the problems that has been faced by Indian agriculture. So we've done the problems on various subtopics like institutional problems. We've done economic factors. We've done all that. Now, along with the problems, there are various problems been there. Along with these problems, the steps are also being taken by the government, to solve these problems. So when I was explaining you all this, the step that has been taken by the government to solve these problems and all that, remember I had explained you all the term called Green Revolution. And I've already told you all, if you all have, if you all have not paid attention, or if you all have not listened to those video that I had sent in the previous, the video that I had sent earlier. Now let me again start with this Green Revolution. Now when I talk about the Green Revolution, this is one of the important measures that has been taken for agriculture. So this Green Revolution started in the 60s, and there's a new agricultural strategy that has been taken up. There's a new measure that has been adopted. So according to the Green Revolution, or what do you mean by a Green Revolution, is the changes that has taken place in the field of agriculture. So there are various steps that has been taken to improve agriculture in India. So one of the most important factor, one of the most common problem that was being faced by Indian agriculture was the lack of, inferior quality, not lack, but inferior quality of seeds that was being used. So one of the steps that has been taken by the Green Revolution is to introduce a high-yielding variety of seed, or a better or a good quality of seeds. Another problem was, India was been facing with the problem of irrigational facilities. Because as I've mentioned in the earlier time, monsoons is just limited for 4 to 5 months in a year, and India has always been referred to as a country of endless growing season, where crops are being grown throughout the year. But the rainfall is just confined to 4 to 5 months. So other rest of the months, the crops are being grown, but there's no water. So artificial supply has to be done. So another step that has been taken was providing them with irrigational facilities. So these are the important steps that has been taken by the Green Revolution, which has a great impact, which has created a great impact in agriculture in our country. So Green Revolution, the measures that has been adopted in the Green Revolution is very, very important. So I've already told you the definition. Green Revolution means the changes that has taken place in the field of agriculture is called Green Revolution. And this started in the late 60s. And the key elements of this Green Revolution is, as I've already told you, there are lots of points, but you just remember 3 to 4 points. Like, for example, use of large capital, that means money investment is very high. Adoption of modern scientific methods, modern methods of agriculture has been practiced. Using of high-yielding varieties of seeds, which is also called the HYV seeds. Then providing them with irrigational facilities, providing them with chemical fertilizers, improvement in marketing. So these are some of the measures that has been taken by the Green Revolution. So at least 4 to 5 points you have to remember. Now another one is, what are the impact that the Green Revolution has done in Indian agriculture? And one of the greatest impact of this Green Revolution in the Indian agriculture is that it has been successful in converting subsistence type of agriculture to commercial type of agriculture. Now what I mean by this is that when you're talking about agriculture in India, mostly the agriculture is a subsistence type. Subsistence means where the farmers are growing crop for him and his family members. Now, after the role that has been played by the Green Revolution, what has changed is that the subsistence farming has been changed into commercial farming. That means now the farmers are mainly growing, not only for their home consumption, but they are growing crops for sale in the market. That's one of the most important impact of the Green Revolution. Second one is development of intensive agricultural production, another important step. So intensive agricultural production, that means the production has been done in such a way that we are self-sufficient. Okay, whatever is being produced is enough for us, and there are surplus. They have used various methods to increase the production, and there are surplus, and that surplus has been sold. Okay, not only in domestic market, but it has also been exported to international markets. Okay, now next one is they have also adapted to the new technology of green revolution. Now new technology of green revolution outer means, they have used a lot of machines, mechanization has been carried on in green revolutions. In the earlier times, the farmers were using old equipments like sickles and all that. They were using the harvesting methods and all was all old. Now they have used modern methods like harvesters, tillers are there, harvesters are there, tractors and all that is being used on a larger scale, okay, to intensify agriculture as well as to increase the agricultural production. Okay, and ultimately all this has led to rural prosperity. That means the rural areas has been developed. Okay, so that's the impact of the green revolution. Another important thing that you have to remember is that the important role that is being played by the green revolution is that they have tried to abolish the zamindari system, which was very common and which was being prevalent in the earlier period of time, where the farmers were being poorly treated by this zamindars. So this has come to an end. Okay, another important step that has been taken is that they have carried on with this new methods of farming called consolidation of land. That means in the earlier times, this concept of, I think I'd explained to you all in the previous class also, in India, this concept of law of inheritance, where a land is being passed generation after generation to the children, is already being prevailing. Okay, so each time when the land has been passed generation after generation, the land has been divided and subdivided into small bits and pieces. So the land has been fragmented. Okay, so in that fragmented and small bits of land or pieces of land, it's not possible for agriculture to be practiced on a larger scale. So that was creating a major problem for Indian agriculture. So one of the most important steps that has been taken by the Green Revolution is that they have, started with this consolidation of land forms or consolidation of land holding, which means the small plot of a land is being brought together. Okay, so converting that small plot of a land into a huge acres of land where it's possible for them to make use of machines and all these things. Okay, that's another important factor. Okay, another important thing is that they have given much more importance to irrigation also. They have spent a lot of money for irrigational purpose, like constructing the tube wells, constructing wells and sprinklers and canals and multipurpose projects and all that. So that is also another step that has been taken. Okay, another one is providing this farmers with this Kisan call centers. Okay, where which has been located in different parts of the country, where when the farmers are facing with any kind of a problem, they can call to the center and they can inquiry about their problems. So this type of facilities are also being provided. Then another thing is they are getting agricultural credits, loans and all are being provided to the farmers, so they don't have to depend on the money lenders and all that. Okay, so these are some of the steps that has been taken, okay, by the Green Revolution, or you can say this is the impact of the Green Revolution. So this is how important Green Revolution is in India. How important role that is being played by the Green Revolution. Okay, so besides this, another important thing that you have to remember is the National Agricultural Policy, which is also called the NAP. Underline this. Okay, and the main features of this NAP is, you have to know the full form of NAP and then important features. The annual growth rate has increased by 4%. Private sector participation is to be promoted. Wider coverage of future markets to be minimized. Okay, and the plant varieties have to be protected. So these are some of the animal husbandry, poultry and all that, at least 3 points. Review of the tax structure. Okay, priorities should be given to rural electrification. So any 3-4 points you can say is the measure that has been adopted or the features that has been there under the NAP. NAP, which is also known as National Agricultural Policy. And the main aim of all this is to increase their production. They want to really increase the production so that the agricultural crops, whatever is being produced, becomes surplus, extra. Okay. Now we come to the most important part, and you're likely to get questions from there. The types of farming in India. Now you have to remember the types of farming. They might sometimes ask you to explain you all the types of farming. Now, starting with the important types of farming, the first one is the subsistence farming. Now, when you are doing this farming, you have to know the features. At least 2 to 3 features are very important. Now, let me just explain you all this type of farming in a very simple way so that you just listen and you don't have to memorize everything from the textbook. You try to understand what I'm explaining to you all, and you can write it in your own words, okay? Now, the first one is called subsistence farming. Now, I think by now you know what do you mean by, I think you have understood what do you mean by subsistence farming. Now, subsistence farming outer means where the farmers are growing crop for him and his family members. That means the farmers have a plot of land, they have hectares of land, and in that hectares of land, they are working to grow crops, okay, for him and his family members. They don't grow crops purpose to sell it in the market for himself and his own consumption. That is called subsistence farming. Now, subsistence farming is very, it's not creating any benefit, because whatever's been grown, it's just for the family members only. So, one of the steps that has been taken by the Green Revolution is they want to convert, they want to change the entire mindset of the farmers, that they should not be growing crops only for him and his family members, but for the nation, for the country, for other people. That's why they have changed from subsistence farming to commercial farming. So subsistence means where the farmers are growing crop for him and his family members. And if anything is extra, in a less amount, anything is extra is being sold in the market. Okay. So main features of land subsistence farming, it's there in the textbook itself only, at least 2 points. Land holdings are very small and scattered, obviously, because the land has been subdivided into small bits and pieces. And the farmers also use traditional methods. That means the implements that is being used is an old method. They don't use a modernized method. They are still making use of a primitive method. One thing that you have to remember is that when I talk about primitive methods and all that, please remember we are talking about people living in the rural areas. We are talking the farmers, and one of the most important thing is the people living in the villages are still orthodox in their nature, traditional and orthodox in their nature. They don't want to bring about changes. So that's the reason behind why primitive methods are still being practiced, okay? And they totally depend on the monsoons. They totally depend on the monsoons. And I have already told you the problems of the monsoon, because the monsoon is just confined to 4 months in a year. Rest of the month is almost dry, okay? So that's the subsistence farming and the features of the subsistence farming. Now we come to commercial farming. The word commercial itself means to be sold in the market, commercial purposes. So whatever crops that is being grown under commercial farming, it's mainly for sale in the market. Okay, so the crops are being grown for sale in the market. There are crops like sugarcane and tobacco and all this, pulses and oil seeds and all that. So one of the most important point that has to be remembered when you are talking the commercial farming is that they are adopting the measures of the Green Revolution by making use of high-yielding variety seeds, chemical fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides. Okay, so that ultimately the production becomes high, and this has already been adopted in states like Punjab and Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, because these are the agricultural states of our country. And the main features of this commercial farming is that whatever crop that is being grown, it's for sale in the market. They require large farms. Mechanized farming is being practiced, okay, and whatever is being growing over there, it's mainly for sale, okay. The next is shifting agriculture. The word shifting agriculture, I think you have understood, or you've come across this term called shifting agriculture. Now, shifting agriculture is one of the most important types of agriculture that was being practiced in India in the earlier times. It's still been prevailing in some of the parts of our country, especially in the northeastern regions of our country. Now, actually, if you see it, shifting cultivation is a very, bad method of agriculture. Actually, it's not a very efficient method of agriculture. This is this type of agriculture should be banned. Okay, it should be stopped, not banned. It should be stopped, and steps are already being taken in India to stop this type of, because it's not a proper way of agriculture. It's a faulty methods. In other words, I think this is the right term that I am using. It's a faulty methods of agriculture. Okay, so steps are being taken by the government to put an end to this. Okay, now the term shifting itself means, farmers have been shifting from one plot of land to another plot of land. And as I've already mentioned this has mostly been practiced in the northeastern states of our country. It's commonly known as jooming. Okay, and it's also called slash and burn. Okay, now what happens in this shifting cultivation, which is also known as jooming, which is also known as joom and slash and burn, is that a forest area, they take a forest area and clear that forest area. Okay, so the trees are being cut. So shifting cultivation is also leading to deforestation, where the trees are being cut down. Okay, and then in the forest areas, not only trees are being grown, you have shrubs and bushes and streamers and climbers and all that. So all these, after the trees have been cut down, these bushes, stunted plants and creepers, streamers and all that, they have been set to fire. So first is cutting down, slashing, and then burn, they are setting it to fire. After it's been set to fire, now they clear the entire area, so they plow the field. Okay, now they prepare the field and then they grow crops. And the most important crop that is being grown in the shifting cultivation is rice. So they plant the rice. Mostly it is by broadcasting method or by dibbling or a drilling method. So now rice is being grown. Now remember, it's a forest area. Forest area contains a lot of humus. Humus means the dead remains of plants and animals. It adds to the fertility of the soil. So in the first year, from that plot of land, the crop is bumper. You have a high production because the soil was very fertile and climatic conditions, whatever, suitable. So the production is very, very high. Now the same plot of land in the second year, third year, instead of production being increasing, the crops production starts becoming lesser and lesser. Now why lesser and lesser is because the same plot of land is being used, same minerals are being used. Okay, so what happens is, first year you may have a bumper crop, by the third year or by the fourth year the crop may be very, very less. So when the production starts becoming less, sorry, now what the farmers do is that they leave that first plot of a land and then they take another plot of a land. That means they shift from first plot to another plot. Another plot also, their forested area cleared, the same process has been done. Okay, so when the second plot of a land has been utilized, the first plot of a land is remaining vacant. Understood? Now, in that first plot of land, no crops are being grown. That is remaining vacant. Nothing is being grown. Understood? And the main purpose behind why they're leaving that plot of land is they want that land to regain back its fertility. So in this way, they are shifting from one plot of land to another plot of land. And that is very dangerous. Because in that first plot of land where nothing is blowing, if heavy showers of rainfall takes place or strong winds are being blowing or heavy rainfall is taking place, it leads to landslides. Soil erosion will take place. And on top of that, it is leading to large scale deforestation. Understood? So that is shifting cultivation, and this is why shifting cultivation has to be banned. Okay, or it should be stopped. Okay, so that is shifting cultivation. And the main features of the shifting cultivation is that a patch of forest land is being cleared by cutting and burning of the stumps. The ash is spread on the field as a manure. After the land is being cleared of trees, seeds are being sown in the ground. Whatever, I've explained it to you all. After 2-3 years, the fertility of the soil becomes less and the fields remain abandoned. Again, another patch of land is being cleared and the same process is being done. That is called shifting cultivation, and it's having a greater effect on the environment. The reason behind it is because it leads to soil erosion, leads to floods, leads to silting. Please underline this. An important crop that is being grown in this area is paddy, that is rice, buckwheat, okay, maize, millets. These are the common crops. Okay, and please remember there are local terms that is being used for this shifting cultivation. Like for example, in Assam it is used as joom, Ponam in Kerala, Podu in Andhra Pradesh, Kuman or Bring in Orissa, Khil in the Himalayan region, and Karua in Jharkhand. Now this has to be memorized because sometimes they might ask you. Okay. Now, next is intensive farming and extensive farming. Now, you should always remember intensive and extensive. Intensive, extensive, a common question comes, they might ask you to write down the difference between intensive farming and commercial farming. Intensive and extensive farming. So, whether it's intensive, whether it's extensive, it is intensive commercial and extensive commercial. In both the cases, the crops are grown mostly for commercial purposes. Okay. Now, let me tell you, in an intensive farming, what happens? The word intensive itself means this has been practiced. Intensive farming is mostly, number one difference. Intensive farming is mostly being practiced in an area where the population is very high. Whereas extensive farming is being practiced in an area where the population is less. So, in an area where the population is high, now what happens is most of the areas are being utilized for constructional purposes, where houses are being constructed, roads are being constructed and all that. So the area under agriculture is very less. Whereas in extensive farming, what happens is it is being practiced in an area where the population is less. So less population means you have larger areas for growing. So in intensive farming, what happens is land is less. So each and every part of the land has been intensively utilized. Every corner of the land has been intensively utilized for growing. So what they do is that they know the plot of land is very small. And from that small plot of land, the demand is so high that they have to meet the demand of the rising population. Because in that area, population is very high. So the demand is going to be more. So, but the land under agriculture in this area is very less. So from that less plot of land, they have to grow crops in such a way that they have to meet the demand of the rising population. So what they do is they use all the modern methods. They use high-yielding variety seeds. Okay, number one. They use a lot of fertilizers, a lot of chemicals. All these have been used. The main aim is to increase the production. Okay, so whatever measure that has been adopted by the Green Revolution has been used in this type of farming. So that is why it's called intensive farming. Okay, small farms intensively cultivated. More than one crop is being cultivated in the same field. To increase the output, rich manure, fertilizers, good quality seeds, irrigation is being required, and intensive labor is also being required. Now that is just the opposite in extensive farming. Okay, the word extensive has already been, I told you, it's a larger area. It has been practiced in an area where the land is more, population is less. So farms are huge, machines are not much used. Okay, machines are being used because the land is much more bigger. So in a big areas, machines can be used properly. High capital intensive, and the yield is also very, very high. And most of the crop that is being grown in extensive farming is for commercial purposes. So that's the difference between intensive and extensive commercial farming. Difference is very, very important. Now we come to plantation farming and mixed farming. Now plantation farming and mixed farming, what plantation means, a huge acres of land has been utilized for the growing of a single crop. That is called plantation farming. Like for example, you have tea plantation, you have rubber plantation, okay, you have coffee plantation, where acres and acres of land is being utilized for the growing of a single crop. And this type of cultivation is also called monoculture. Okay. But one thing that you have to remember is that some of the plantation crop, like for example in plants like coffee, you have coffee plantation, but along with coffee plantations, you'll find other trees also being growing, like fruits and vegetables and all are also being growing over there. Okay, that is to supplement the income of the farmers. But in monoculture, only single crop is being grown. Okay, so the main features of plantation farming is that one crop is being cultivated using a modern method. Chemical fertilizers, herbicides, insecticides are intensively utilized. Undertaken on a large tract of land, commercial crops are being grown, mostly be sold in the market for sale purposes. Okay, and capital investment is also very high, and the latest technologies are being used. Now, next one is called mixed farming. Now, mixed farming out here means where crops are being grown along with animals are being kept. Now, this is a new concept in the sense like mostly being practiced in the developed countries of the world, where you have agricultural land for crops as well as keeping of the animals. That is called a mixed farming. Now, this is not a very common, common factor in India. In India, this concept is not there. It may be used by small farmers in a small acres of land where farmers are growing crop for his family and keeping animals also. But in a larger, this concept is not, it's not suitable in India. The reason behind is because the land under cultivation itself is small. because we are facing this problem of fragmentation of land holding. So this cannot be practiced in India. It's not a very common feature. It may be in practice in certain areas, but it's not a very common feature. It is a common feature in the developed countries of the world, where crops are being grown along with raising of the animal, and that's called a mixed farming. Okay, and along with this, fruits, vegetables, and all this is also being grown over there. And main feature of this is crops and animals are being raised simultaneously together. 2 or more crops are being grown. Rotation of the crop has been practiced, and it ensures that there is a steady income for the farmers. Not only not only from the crops the farmers are getting the money, but also by selling the animal things. I mean, poultry and milk and all that. By selling it, the farmers get the money. Okay, that's called a mixed farming. Got it? So now, not only this, whatever after the crop has been harvested, whatever is left behind is been acting as a fodder for the animals. Okay, and then from the animals they get the manures like cow dungs and all that, which adds to the fertility of the soil. So this is how they carry on with this type of farming. So with this, we finish with the types of farming in India. The first unit on agriculture is over. And I hope you have understood. Thank you.